Hey guys, this is Undercover Dudes all the way from Down Under with the top 10 free-to-play first-person shooters of 2017 and 2018. Project Argo is an official standalone conversion of Arma 3, set up as a competitive tactical first-person shooter. The game format is simple, 2 teams of 5 battle over objectives. However, with the hyper-realism of Arma, this game is definitely one of the most difficult on the list. The time to kill is insanely fast, only a few bullets are needed to go and take down an enemy or a teammate. Now I say teammate as well, because in Argo friendly fire is turned on, but you're unable to go and see who is on your team via HUD like you can go and do in the majority of first person shooters. Graphics wise, this game is beautiful, it's Arma free through and through, and the frame rate isn't bad as well. Gameplay wise, it's exactly like Arma 3, but it's focused on this 5v5 competitive format. While still work in progress, Project Argo is definitely worth a download for the hardcore shooter fans. Line of Sight is a game developed by Black Spot Entertainment. The studio made up of former members from Dubik being original makers of combat arms. Line of Sight was on this list at the start of the year, and it holds its place due to its fast-paced military-based gameplay. There are superpowers, but in my opinion, the game flows better with this option turned off. It's better to let the weapons and the skill do the talking. The amount of weapons have been expanded significantly since the last time I looked at this game, along with the implementation of some new maps. On top of this, suppressors, different magazines, different bullet types, barrels, laser sights, etc. are just some of the customization options, along with a new variety of paint jobs for your weapons. A professional Counter-Strike Global Offensive player by the name of Cloud9 Strad has said that Line of Sight is a Counter-Strike Global Offensive clone, but I feel that Line of Sight does go and have a lot of influences from the main games like Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Battlefield, Call of Duty and so on. Its core roots are in the early free-to-play first-person shooters like Combat Arms and Alliance of Valiant Arms. Overall, Line of Sight is a great free-to-play first-person shooter, and as I said before, this game was on the list that I made at the start of the year, but will it be on the next list that I go and make? Consider subscribing so you don't miss out. Tribes Ascend is a fast-paced first-person shooter developed and published by Hi-Res Studios more than 5 years ago. The game has very much been forgotten after Hi-Res's success with Smite and Paladins, and while the development of the game is not really active, the community is still attempting to go and rise from the ashes. Even at 3 PM in the afternoon on a weekday, there was quite a few games on the Oceanic server, and so overall the community is still there for sure. The game revolves around violence, speed, and momentum. By holding spacebar, you remove all the friction from your feet, and you're able to go and travel at insane speeds. The game features a class-based loadout system, where each loadout specifies what type of armor the player has, along with their weapons and items. The player can go and swap what loadout they're using in-game, so they can go and respond to what the enemy is trying to do, or try to go and do something a little bit different if the formula isn't working. Out of game and in game, you're able to go and customize your classes. You can go and say, okay, my primary slot, I want the spin fuser, and then I want a light assault rifle, and then I want a sniper rifle. But then maybe, okay, somebody's trying to get on my back really close range. Maybe I want a nade launch, I can go and swap that in. Maybe I can go and swap another class in. Overall, the customization of this game is really intense. Like the classic FPS games of old, Tribes features modes like Team Deathmatch and Capture the Flag, along with some more unique modes like Rabbit, Arena, and Capture and Hold. For me, Tribes is one of those games where every single kill is satisfying, be it a simple crossbow kill by shooting the ground where the enemy is, or direct impacting an enemy in mid-air. Every kill needs to be worked for, and overall it still feels the same compared to when I played it 5 years ago. Currently, the community is small but very strong, but if more people knew about this sick game, hopefully, the game can go and get a little bit rejuvenated. Hi-Res is focusing on Smite and Paladins. They don't really care about Tribes, but the game is in a really good state. Overall, the servers are solid, the community is solid, and I think if more people played this game, then overall there might be a little bit of a rejuvenation. Unreal Tournament is an alpha stage game developed by Epic Games, a complete revival of the Unreal Tournament series. Epic is going for a different approach to this new Unreal, using crowdfunding as the basis for development, along with posting the source code on GitHub so anybody can go and see. It's very obvious that this game is a labor of love. This game isn't being made for profit, and thus the team is working hand in hand with the community. Quake Champions is a game that we might talk about later, and it's going down the route of changing up the way the game goes and plays out. Now compare this to Unreal Tournament 2017, which is sticking to the formula that was created in the previous Unreal Tournament iterations. And thus the big change to this whole game is in terms of the graphics, which is powered by the Unreal 4 engine. The upgrade goes and brings the Unreal world to a new level, and overall it looks stunning, even more so when you go and compare it to the last iteration. In terms of gameplay, it's remained basically the same, with a major emphasis on skill-based aim drills and utilising the whole arsenal of weapons. The modes are varied, including the classic team deathmatch, but also goes and includes capture the flag and duel. Black Squad is a military-based first-person shooter that is developed by NS Studio and published by NeoWiz. Now before we start, let me say that Black Squad is already a well-developed game. It's been out in South Korea for many years and already has an esports scene. The Steam release is simply a North American and European release, with the years of content being released bit by bit. With that said, Black Squad does feel like a game that was released back in 2014. Anybody that has gone and played an Asian free-to-play first-person shooter will instantly go and recognize the movement and the gun mechanics, which are quite generic to be fair. However, this means that skill is the determining factor in gunfights. With extremely fast time to kills, headshots are a must, especially with the lethality of one-hit kill snipers. The mode selection is limited to say the least, with Team Deathmatch, Bomb Defusal, and VIP Assassination being among the modes. The maps in Team Deathmatch are quite simplistic, with simple choke points being the main areas of contention. However, when you move to more of the bomb defusal maps, the maps go and open up and have a bit more detail, and overall feel like they're more competitively viable. Now with that said, this game already has a really big esports scene in South Korea, and NeoWiz has gone and said, okay, if people, the community really wants an esports scene for this game for the North American European release, they would be happy to go and oblige. Now talking about the weapons, the variety is a little bit limited in comparison to the Korean version, but as I said before, the content will be released bit by bit. But at the moment there is a nice spread of assault rifles, SMGs, shotguns and snipers. However, given that the super fast time to kill that I was talking about before, only a small pool of assault rifles and snipers are actually quite viable in the competitive modes, but obviously in the casual modes, running around with a submachine gun will be absolutely fine. A lot of people have been saying that Black Squad is the free-to-play military shooter that we need right now, and I can go and see what they mean. It's a solid game, and all it needs is not go down the pay-to-win path, and along with that, go and implement some new servers, and I reckon Black Squad will be up there in the Steam charts for the free-to-play first-person shooter genre. Quake Champions is one of the most hyped free-to-play first-person shooter games that is coming out this year. Developed by id Software and published by Bethesda, Quake Champions is a reimagining of the Quake series via the implementation of champions. These champions, they break the traditional Quake mold by allowing the player to go and choose what character they want to go and play in-game, each having unique health and armor values on top of varying hitbox sizes, movement speeds, and ultimate abilities. Quake has always been about skill first and foremost, and Champions still has that blood flowing through its veins, as the ultimate abilities are not the be-all and end-all. The majority of kills will be through the classic array of weaponry, and with that said, you only have one ability, and that's your ultimate, and that is on a relatively long cooldown, and therefore you can only go and use it sparingly. The laser gun, the rocket launcher, the railgun and more are back, and in combination with many of the unique ultimates, the gameplay is definitely getting spicy. For example, the latest champion in the game is BJ Blazkowicz, whose ability allows him to dual wield whatever weapon you currently have equipped for a short amount of time. This allows him to go and do an insane amount of damage, but with his relatively low health pool, it leaves him open to direct rocket launcher shots or railgun shots. The game is running off a free-to-play monetization system that was seen from the likes of Paladins. The base game is free, where you have one champion, and that champion is Ranger, the default, very standard guy. And with that said, you have to go and rent the other champions with in-game currency if you want to go and play them. Or you can go and drop an undisclosed amount. Bethesda hasn't gone and said it yet, but I'm guessing it's going to be around $20 to $30, and you have access to all the champions permanently. On top of that, there is cosmetics and loot boxes for extra monetization, and Bethesda's gonna promise there will be no pay-to-win elements, and hopefully it goes and stays that way. Of all the games on this list, Quake Champions is trying to go and make the biggest splash, with a $1 million esports tournament that is running right now to go and kick the game off. However, during this beta phase, the game has had its fair share of problems, many of them relating to netcode, packet loss, and ping. Overall, the gameplay of Quake Champions is insanely fun. However, its external problems are holding this awesome free-to-play game back. Hopefully these issues will be fixed by the time the game launches, which will be somewhere around late 2017. The next game we're going to be talking about is Planetside 2, by far one of the best free-to-play first-person shooters of all time. Now, Planetside 2 is by no means a new game. It was released all the way back in 2012. But the game is being revived by a string of updates, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to go and remind you guys that this classic game is still alive and kicking. Now, if you haven't gone and played Planetside 2 before, which is probably a very small portion of you guys, Planetside 2 is an open world game where two massive teams fight over objectives across a sprawling map, be it on foot, in a vehicle, or in the air. Planetside 2 keeps you coming back day after day after day with the diversity, along with the beautiful graphics that are probably the best in the free-to-play scene, along with the potential for epic battles that can go and span days on end. I could go on and on about Planetside 2, but probably a lot of you guys have already gone and played it. But if you haven't gone and played Planetside 2 before, make sure to go and check it out, links will be in the description below. The next game I want to talk about is Dirty Bomb, which is a first-person shooter developed and published by Splash Damage. Now, Nexon used to go and publish Dirty Bomb, however Splash Damage now completely owns the rights and thus they run their own servers. A great move for a great game. The graphics of Dirty Bomb are quite unique, with an art style reminiscent of Brink & Co. Powered by the Unreal 3 engine, the graphics options are extensive and the available frames are high. Fantastic optimization all round. Talking about the maps, they made specifically for the mode in mind, and that's great since Dirty Bomb is an objective-focused game. The maps are not cut and dry though. Cathedral is an escort map where you have to first escort an armored vehicle, and then you have to bring the bombs to the final destination by hand. Other maps entail planting C4 at a site and then pushing forward after it's been destroyed. That opens up the second phase, and then if you go and plant another C4 and then open up another part of the map. And overall, the Dirty Bomb maps, they go and expand, and overall it's a really cool experience where you go and progress through rather than just being kept in a very limited area. Character-wise, there is a large assortment of mercenaries who have unique weapons and abilities. At the moment, there is 20 possible mercs, but you can only swap between 3 of them in-game. The latest update brought in a new mercenary called Turtle, who is a Turkish engineer with a special shield generator ability. There is also a new map and a new mode, and that has brought back a few old faces and gained some new ones. Put this all together, and the fast-paced gameplay of Dirty Bomb will give you guys one of the best free-to-play first-person shooter experiences out there right now. Now, let's talk about Battlefield 2, in my opinion one of the best multiplayer first-person shooter games of all time. Characterizing many of the industry-defining traits like different classes, large and detailed maps, along with classic modes like Conquest, Battlefield 2 is a game for the ages. Now, Battlefield 2 back in the day, it was a pay-to-play title. However, the game has been abandoned for so long, it's in a state of abandoned where EA doesn't really care about it. And the guys at Battlelog has gone and revived the game through the Revive initiative. And basically, they've gone and revived not only Battlefield 2, but also Battlefield 2142, and there is a really active community behind it. So with that said, if you guys want to go and support these guys, a link will be in the description below. But let's go and talk about Battlefield 2. It's been 12 years since the game has been released, and it's showing its age in the graphics department. However, the Battlefield experience has never really been from the graphics, it's from the addicting gameplay. This all starts from the rock-solid shooting mechanics, which are punishing if you're not on your toes. With an extremely fast time to kill and very high recoil, a good trigger finger is a must. The maps and modes are where this game is at though, Conquest coming into its own with the massive but detailed maps that have gone and stood the test of time. And of course we can't forget about the wide array of classes, ranging from the assault, medic, sniper, and everything in between. With all of that said, this game, in my opinion, it goes and stands up to today's competition purely because it's gone and cut out all the bullshit. No pay-to-win DLC, no cosmetic packs, just a solid game with a great community, and they even have Australian servers. And just having a look at the Battlelog site right now, they're trying to go and revive Battlefield Heroes as well, which is really awesome because that was a free-to-play game back in the day that I played quite a lot as well. And again, if any news comes up for that, I'll make sure to go and keep you guys posted. Now before talking about the number one spot, I have 3 honorable mentions. The first one is called a Last Man Standing, which is basically a less polished version of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds or H1Z1. Despite being a third-person shooter, like the 2 games it tries to go and emulate, Last Man Standing also has the option to go and toggle to a first-person mode, so I thought it wouldn't be a bad idea to go and chuck it in the honorable mentions section since it doesn't exactly fit into the main list. Honestly, there isn't much to go and say about this game. It's Battle Royale, but you don't have to go and pay for it. It has simplistic movement and weapon mechanics, but with the relatively high recoil, it does need some time to go and master. Last Man Standing has a very wide open map, but with no vehicles, which means that fights will go and focus around small areas, and then everybody goes and jumps in and turns it into a massive brawl. The reason why, with that very wide open map, there isn't actually that much that you can go and see very close to each other. They're quite spread out, and that means with a very high render distance, you'll be able to go and see people from like a K away, and then say, okay, I want to go and join in that fight, and then overall it just goes and erupts, and it is a pretty cool experience. However, the game has a chronic case of, I have way too many meds and I can just get all of my health back in an instant, kind of like H1Z1. But overall, the super arcadey feel goes and works for this game, and it's fun if you don't have any of the paid titles that I talked about before. The second one is a game called Midair, which looks to be a 2017 reimagining of Tribes Ascend. While having simpler graphics, Midair attempts to go and solve all of the Ascend's problems for a tight-knit community. Currently, the game is in an alpha stage, and it costs $35 to go and access the beta, which will start in mid-August. However, in November the game will have an open beta, so everybody can go and try it out. I personally have not gone and played this game, and hence why I'm putting it in the honorable mention slot. I think it looks like a great game. I think the team has a really good, the head is on their shoulders for sure. But with that said, I personally haven't played it, and therefore I can't go and give it a true recommendation. It seems like a decent game, but there isn't enough draw for me to go and commit money before it goes free to play. The third game is called Keystone, and it's developed by the makers of Warframe Digital Extremes. According to the game's website, Keystone is a game where every move transports you into an epic battle, blending first-person shooter action and deck-building strategy for an all-new type of team-based first-person shooter. Now, Digital Extremes have also gone and released a statement saying that with the look and feel of the 1970s retro pulp era, Keystone will take players on a journey through a multiverse that begins on the starting square of an intriguing, mystical board game. Players will wield unique decks of cards throughout the match that offer handy benefits, amazing powers, and fearsome weapons. With timing and resourcefulness, personally customized decks give players the upper hand in battle both individually and when strategically coupled with teammates' decks. To me, this gives off some heavy MOBA and Hearthstone vibes, which is right up my alley. At the moment, the game is in alpha, so there is no gameplay released onto YouTube, and like Midair, I have not gone and played Keystone. But with that said, Keystone is probably going to have an NDA, probably has an NDA right now, and so even if I did play it, I couldn't be talking about my experiences anyway. So with that said, this is very, just based off what we have, based off the information of what we have. And with that said, it seems like this game is going in a very unique direction. And with a dev team like Digital Extremes, I had to go and put this game on the list so you guys at least know of its existence. By the time I do another list, I'm sure there will be more info that I can go and share. Securing the number one spot, we have Paladins. Now, honestly, I would have put Dirty Bomb, Battlefield 2, and Paladins all at the number one spot. They are all absolutely fantastic games, and honestly, trying to go and split the difference between them would be very difficult because they're all very different, but all so awesome. But with that said, Dirty Bomb and Battlefield 2, they're more unknown, and so I wanted to go and give the spotlight to those games first before we dabbled into a more popular game, because most people go and leave the video gradually, and by the time they actually get to the number one spot, it's only like 25%, so I wanted to go and give the spotlight more towards those games that haven't got as much of a community behind them. But with that said, Paladins is still rapidly rising in popularity. Compared to Overwatch, this game really is nothing, but it's trying to go and rise up the Steam charts and is doing it quite well. It's a hero shooter that is making really big waves in the genre, and it's stealing across quite a few Overwatch fans to boot. In a previous top 10, I said that Paladins was basically a free-to-play clone of Overwatch, and I got berated in the comments, and to be fair, I deserved it. So I put a lot of time into this game, and I really learned what it was about, and I can go and confidently say that there is a big difference in the way you play Paladins in comparison to Overwatch. The one big similarity everybody goes and brings up is the characters, and in my initial video, that is what I based off my, my first impressions. I played the game, and then I saw, okay, there is some really big similarities, and from there, I made a very big assumption. But with that said, the complete package of a character is often quite different to their Overwatch equivalent, and thus you have to go and play in an entirely different way. And so with that said, I don't think it's a complete ripoff, but there is some very big similarities, and I think both dev studios are going and kind of taking inspiration from each other. Now, the gameplay feels unique due to the amount of champions that can be played. With Hi-Rez's rather active release schedule, you know there's always going to be something new to play around the corner. Now, due to Paladins having MOBA influences, you decide your team in the champion select phase, and you're stuck with that champion for the whole match. This lack of swapping means that you really have to know who you're playing if you want to be the best. However, the game has a relatively low skill floor, so it's really easy for people to go and pick up and play, but it has quite a high skill ceiling, as the best people in the game are going to absolutely wipe the floor if you go and let them. The skill ceiling is even higher due to the loadout system that can completely transform the identity of a champion. Furthermore, in-game cards can be purchased that allow the player to go and specialize down certain routes. For example, more damage to shields, more cooldown reduction, and so on. Along with an active community, tons of servers, and a bustling esports scene, Paladins is definitely a game to go and try out. And with all of that said, that is my top 10 free-to-play first-person shooters list of 2017 and 2018. And damn, I think this list is pretty damn unique. You're not going to go and find any list like this one. I put a lot of research in. I went and played all of these games extensively. I didn't just go and download a trailer and just go and put it in the video. Actually did my research, boys. So hopefully you guys do go and, enjoy the video. If you enjoyed the video, subscription, liking, sharing, all that definitely will help out the channel. But other than that, it's Undercover Dudes all the way from down under, out.